better daily, where we work hard in our minds, bodies, and our spirits to become 1% better every single day. Download the app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live to catch the video version of these podcasts. Here's your host and my dad, Alex Van Houten.
What is up, Betterment family? This is Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live, and today is Thursday. Happy Thursday. Thursday is Word Thursday, and the word today is TACHYKININ. Yes, you've probably never heard the word TACHYKININ unless you're slightly nerdy and also like to read about neuroscience like I do, but I believe that it's very relevant to what we're doing here in Better Daily. So let's talk about it. So tachykinins are actually peptides that exist in the brain. And again, I'm going to be nerdy, but I'll also try to put things in layman's terms too, just in case you're not quite as nerdy as I am about this sort of thing. But tachykinins are released at the level of the brain. They're also released in your digestive tract. And as a peptide, it's a compound that communicates different signals to cells. And I came across the literature of tachykinins when I was reading about fear and trauma. And it turns out that among the many things that you can read about fear and trauma, if you've experienced something very intense or difficult in your life, it's crazy. The amygdala, the amygdalic response, the thing that tells you, wow, this is a really scary thing, it's connected to a dopaminergic system, which is responsible for helping you learn new things, right? So if you wanted to learn like a deadlift or a jump or something like that, you would have to work at it for a while. I'm currently trying to learn how to do a good handstand without assistance. It's very, very tough with Ehlers-Danlos, with the tendons and ligaments want to move a whole bunch, so I don't have a very rigid structure to handstand on, but I'm working on it. So I'm working on learning this thing, right? Gabriel is working on learning how, well, he's learning a lot of things. Gosh, man, you're 6 years old, you learn something new every day, basically. But he's working on a trick on his bike right now. And Bennett is trying to learn how to ride a bike with no training wheels. So there's a lot of learning going on in my household. And that sort of learning takes new practice all of the time, right? It's very, very difficult. Good morning, KT. Good to see you this morning. But your fear system and your trauma response in your amygdala, it's connected to a part of you that can learn things in one shot, right? So if you've had a really bad experience with something, you can learn the fear of that thing in one time, right? So public speaking might be something that, actually, I want to say that in the general population, public speaking is the number one fear next to death, which is pretty crazy because there are people who would rather die than have to stand on stage and talk to somebody. And maybe you're one of those people, and I'm not making fun of you if you're one of those people, but maybe you had a bad experience with that. Maybe you were called on in school and everybody's eyes turned on you and you didn't have the answer. And so like your heart rate went up and it was really embarrassing. You got flushed, the little kid behind you made fun of you, whatever. And so in that moment, you learned the fear of public speaking, right? Or my mom, she's really scared of spiders, like hardcore arachnophobia. I remember as a kid, I'd be in the back room of the house and I'd hear, ow! She called me Al. Ow! So I'd come running, because it sounded like it was some terrible, awful thing. And she'd be like, can you kill that spider? So I'd have to go over there. I'm like, there you go, Mom. Like, you're like the strongest, most intelligent, awesomest person I know. And that little spider, man, that was going to do you in, huh? Anyway, so I know if most people do have some sort of irrational fear. I hate ants. Like, I sat in an ant mound when I was 7 years old under a trampoline. I sat in an ant mound playing with my cousins above me. And if you've ever sat in an ant mound before, or if you've seen an ant mound, you don't want to mess with those buggers. They're mean. They crawled up on me and they were biting me and stuff. And I'm like running and trying to get them off me and I'm crying. And so even to this day as an adult, I'll see a mound of ants and I declare war on them. I'll dig them up and burn them with gasoline. Like, that's the only time I'm a crazy masochist. I kill all the ants. And I know it's weird, but that's in me, right? Like, I see them all crawling around and it just makes my skin crawl and makes my heart rate go up and I'm like, ugh. So it's a 1 lifetime learned response to fear. The thing about fear and trauma, though, is that you have to unlearn it. So there's clinical ways. Journaling is one of them. Journaling through a fear or a traumatic experience and reliving that thing so that you relive all the heightened emotion, but you keep doing it over and over and over again until the emotion goes down. And then there's the healing process. So after the fear or trauma has been faced enough that the fear response comes down, then you can replace that memory, that thing you learned in one shot, you can replace that memory with something good and beneficial and positive. So for me, with my ant problem, I'll go around the yard if there's an ant mound, and Gabriel and I together will dig the ant hill up, we'll flip it over, we'll put some of that little stuff on there, and we'll listen to music, and it's a nice thing, and I'm not afraid of ants anymore. They don't bother me. I don't want to sit in an ant mound, but it's not like a huge and terrible thing in my life. And more seriously, and to the point, I've had traumatic memories in childhood that were relived in this way and then replaced with something beneficial and good, like going for a run and remembering some of those things and getting my story straight, as well as establishing what that means in my life, having a fearful, traumatic childhood memory, but in my run reliving that and saying my children won't have to wrestle with that. And that's one of the reasons that I'm dedicated to being a good father, is so that my children don't have to wrestle with that. But that's also a selfish thing too, because I don't have to relive that pain because I've replaced it with something positive and good in my life, right? So all that to say, tachykinins, where do these roll in? Well, in the research regarding fear in trauma, there is a compound that has been found that is released in the brain that tends to reduce the amount of pain, both physical and emotional, that's experienced by the body. And it's really interesting. This whole class of peptides, tachykinins, if you Google it, you're going to get a whole bunch of really hardcore neuroscience lingo speak that's going to be hard to understand. But when you boil down some of the research, one of the things that we've found that is helpful for reducing suffering with regard to fear and trauma is the release of these neuropeptides called tachykinins. And what's really cool about tachykinins compared to other, like a hug, if you get a hug, you get oxytocin released. And oxytocin also is kind of analgesic. It's the hormone that's released when a woman has a baby, that binds her to the child, but also makes the pain worth it, so to speak. And similarly, if you're having a rough day and you get a hug from a family member or friend that you love, you can almost take a deep breath and kind of let go of some of the pain and suffering of today, right? Yeah. Have you ever said, like, I just need a hug, man? Like, I could really use a hug right now. That's oxytocin, right? It can be analgesic. But tachykinins are very different because it doesn't require physical contact for tachykinins to be released into the body and for them to go about the job of reducing the amount of pain that you're experiencing. In some studies, they have found that tachykinins are released when you have a conversation with somebody that you trust and that you have a relationship with. Just a conversation, like pick up the phone and call a friend or talk to another human being that you trust and have a relationship with, right? If you've ever had a particularly difficult day, or maybe you are trying to work through a fear or a traumatic memory, the conversation that you have with somebody who you can trust is actually pain relieving. It's actually pain relieving. It's not just like, oh, it's nice to do sometimes. There's a biological mechanism for the relief of pain and suffering that comes from the connection of conversation with somebody that you trust and that you have a relationship with. And I was reading this, it was like my mind was just blown. Because how cool is it? I had the opportunity recently to get together with some of the leaders here in Better Daily and have a conversation about what 2022 is going to look like and some of the awesome things that are coming up for our community here, some of the things that I'm excited about as a leader in this community, and some of the things that I hope to see as things are coming about. We got great events coming. We have some awesome seminars coming. We've got some updates to the challenges that we do that I'm excited about. And the people who are here and continue to to come download the shortcast and become a part of Better Daily. This is just becoming such an awesome place to be. And I was reminded, because I asked everybody, hey, in this last year, because we're a year old now, how are you better than you were last year? And has this group played a role in that? And if so, what? And everybody had something to say about that. And it was so cool to hear that and to know that for whatever reason, this space of the internet is creating the opportunity to build relationships and connections. And that in doing so, there is a reduction in the pain and suffering. Possibly, this hasn't been studied yet. We don't have a neuroscientist on our staff who can just, come check your TACHYKININ level after engaging in Better Daily. But the research suggests that a space like this, where that the people here are pursuing better, and they're willing to put their best foot forward, and you can trust that process. You might not know everybody in this group at a very core level, but you can trust the process of better. There's no cheating it. You don't get to cheat the process of better. You either show up for your workout or you don't. You either eat better or you don't, or you sleep well and make it a point to get your steps, or you don't, or you post Bible verses and you listen to music, or you don't. Like, you don't get to cheat better. Nobody can do it for you, and you certainly can't buy it. So you can trust that process, and when people get together like that, it's like something special happens. And I'm so excited about the opportunity in our virtual space, the world we live in today, where more people would prefer to play a video game than to go outside, or might prefer to get on Facebook and scroll through their friends' stuff rather than just pick up the phone and call them and have a conversation. I'm so encouraged that it appears as if we are growing a place where tachykinins can be produced. And how cool is that? How cool is that there might be a way to create a positive online space that allows for that to happen. I'm geeked out by it. Kind of gives me chills to think about. So tachykinins, a very, very cool neuropeptide that is released, and it's released in a number of instances, but for the purposes of this conversation, interactions with people that you trust and have a relationship with, that can be pain relieving and actually reduce suffering, and might play a role in the process of overcoming fears and traumas in a beneficial way. KT says, I guess if I knew having conversations can release these peptides, then I guess I would be making that happen on purpose, right? Yes, that's exactly right. And I mean, if you think about it, if you're blessed enough to have a good friend in your life, that something very difficult happens, they're the first person that comes to your brain and it says, I need to talk to this person. I need to tell them about this. I need to say this. It's like a very deep visceral urge to get the relief necessary. And sure, conversation can help you arrange your thoughts, to get your story straight, to give you an opportunity to have a second mind, maybe to bounce some ideas off of and solve a problem. If you're in the middle of emotional response, you're going to experience some downshifting. You're not going to be as smart as you usually are. So sometimes outsourcing to another human being can be helpful. So there's all those things that drive it. But at the very basic level, wanting to talk to somebody about something is a deep drive to just relieve the pain. And that's so cool. That is so cool. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of a community that is working to do just that. Among the things that we do, achieving 1% better daily is somewhat about taking some of that suffering and pain away so that we can be more conscious about what we're doing going forward. And there are many folks in this community who would say, I don't know if they would say Better Daily has taken their pain away. They would say, I don't know what it is, but being a part of this group pushes me forward in a way that I couldn't do myself. And that's the spirit of what we're up to. This has been Alex Van Houten in Better Daily Live. Thank you guys so much for joining me for Word Thursday. Tomorrow's Flex Friday. I'll be your coach, and we'll go through an exercise movement that will help you on your journey. Until then, though, it's just 1%. We got this.
Thank you for joining us for your 1% Better today. Don't forget to subscribe for the podcast. Leave us a raving review to tell others how Better Daily has helped you in your journey. If you want more Better Daily, download our app and join our Betterment family at betterdaily.live. Use code POD to get 25% off your subscription. That's POD, all caps, to save 25% on your subscription. We all have a cross to carry. It's lighter when we do it together. Go to betterdaily.live today.